Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Dwayne Wesley. I'm the department chair of the Computer and Information Sciences Department. This is the First Friday speaker series, and this is an event that is sponsored by my department. It's also an association with MRO, and actually I just realized I should have written that down here. I want to make sure that everybody knows that we've got an organization here, MRO, which Mesa Robotics Organization. We meet on Fridays, and it's in S303 from 1. I'm sorry, actually 2. 2 to 4 p.m. Okay. So if any of you are even remotely interested in robotics, you're welcome to come and join us. You don't need to know anything about robotics or programming or electrical engineering or anything like that. It's we get together and we're basically teaching each other as we go. We're currently working on a pig controller, basically a device that will balance a ball on a touch-sensitive screen, and we're doing that because that basically the mechanics and the software involved in doing that kind of thing are easily transferable to controlling a drone, right? So we expect to use that to extend and add on to that. So again, if any of you are interested, you're welcome to attend. Today we're very fortunate to have a very special talk, very special speaker as well. Our First Friday speaker today is a recent hire of mine into the department. He's a fascinating individual. He's got a wide variety of interests and talents. With respect to my needs in the department, he's extremely knowledgeable with respect to computer technology, and he also has a great background in teaching experience, and so that impressed me enough to definitely want to hire him. As I've gotten to know him more, I've actually come to appreciate him even more by the fact that he is just such an amazingly decent human being, and I think that you will come to understand that as a result of listening to his presentation today. So my hope is that you view this presentation with an open heart. Given everything that's happening in this world, there's a lot of we live in difficult, challenging times across the world, and I think all of us really need to look within ourselves to ask what do we really value? What's important in our lives, right? And so obviously I'm interested in promoting computers, technology, engineering, mathematics, right? Which is what this series is all about. To give students tools where they can build careers. And yes, to the extent you do that, you're very likely that you'll get a job that makes you a lot of money. But at the end of your life, when you look back on things, what are you going to reflect on and be able to say, hey, I made a difference. My life was meaningful, right? So hopefully, this is an opportunity to give you some insight. Look within yourself, within your heart, and hopefully find and develop, a wellspring of compassion that you can, apply as you chart your path through life. So with that, please join me in welcoming Professor Sam Lee.
Thank you, Dwayne. Yeah, my name is Sam Lee. I teach in the Computer Information Science Department. And in the past summer, I did some volunteer work in Greece to help refugees. And I want to share with you my experience, because also that is a kind of collective effort by me and other volunteers. So I want to give you the kind of story as like a salute or for the whole volunteering community. All right, so for the current refugee crisis, it is the worst since the Second World War. So you may wonder how this could happen. So the Cold War has finished. We are supposed to be in a peaceful period. So I'm sure you all heard about this butterfly effect, right? A flapping of a butterfly wings can affect later a tornado and maybe its direction and where it would go. So in this case, where is the butterfly? Where was the butterfly that caused the worst refugee crisis in our lifetime? Actually started in 2010, in the year 2010, in a city, in a country called Tunisia. It's about here, this tip, under Italy. So in a city, in a December morning, about 10:30, the government officer took away the fruit cart of a young man who was selling fruits because he didn't have a license. I think this young man, he borrowed some money to buy the fruits, and the hope was he would sell the fruits and then repay the debt and maybe keep some profit. But now, with the fruit being taken away by the government, he thought he was in big trouble. So he went to the government building and trying to get the fruit cart back. And there was also an expensive electronic scale he also wants back. The government wouldn't talk with him. So about 1 hour later, by 11:30, he burned himself. And then that triggered nationwide protests. Many people went to the streets and had a demonstration. So within about a month, in January of next year, 2011, the government of Tunisia was toppled. But the demonstration didn't stop at the border. It spread to many Arab countries and became Arab Spring. So it spread to Egypt. So about within a month, the government of Egypt was toppled. And it spread to Libya. And in March of the next year, the civil war started. And within about a year, the Libyan government was toppled and its leader was also killed. But the conflicts and the chaos didn't stop and lasted until today, till now. And also the demonstration also spread to Syria. And in March of the next year, 2011, the war started in Syria and get worse and worse and more bloody. And also lasted till today, and there is no sign of stopping from now. So these two countries that had war and chaos and conflicts, these two countries became the two primary points where the refugees depart for Europe. And the refugee crisis reached a peak in 2014, 2015. In 2014, about maybe a third of 1 million people entered Europe. More than half of them went through the eastern route from Libya to Italy. And a minority went through the western route, and so the eastern route from Turkey through Greece. But in 2015, there was a shift. First, the scale became much greater. About 1 million people went from other countries into Europe. So in Syria, there was a pre-war population about maybe 22 million people. And in the middle of the war, about half of the 22 million people became displaced. So like every two families, one is gone, one have to flee their home. So the half people who were displaced, about 1/4 is internally displaced. So they left their home, but they stayed in Syria. But the other quarter left the country. So just think about it. For the whole country, 1/4 of the population left the country. It's amazing. And so 5 million people left Syria. Where did they go? About 4 million stayed in Lebanon and Turkey, but 1 million entered Europe. So that's a massive scale. So of the two routes, let's maybe zoom in and take a look at the eastern route. So we would leave Turkey and cross the sea. That's a dangerous journey. We are going to see some examples later. So cross the sea and reach the mainland of Greece. And starting from there, they would walk on foot through different countries, Macedonia, Serbia, Croatia, and previously they walked through Hungary. But then Hungary built a closed border and built a fence. So they had to take a detour, go through Croatia, Slovenia, and Austria, eventually to Germany. So for most of the refugees and migrants, their target is Germany or Sweden. So these are the two countries that were most welcome in the beginning of the crisis, about 2014, 2015. So let's zoom in further. So we are going to zoom into this area, how they depart from mainland, from the shore of Turkey, and go to islands of Greece. So that's kind of the scale of refugee and migration. But they are crossing, I think this is in Slovenia, part of the Balkan Peninsula. So that's part of the journey from here to here and here. So that's the map, but from a human scale, person-to-person scale, that's how it looks like. So let's zoom in a bit further. So this is the shore of Turkey, and the migrants and refugees would take a boat and leave the shores of Turkey and arrive to these islands in Greece. These are the primary islands where the refugees will arrive. I think from the top, George, maybe you can correct me, Lesbos. Lesbos. And this is Chios or Chios? Chios. And Samos. Yeah, I had a temporary plan to go there first, but it didn't go eventually. And last one is Kos. So they will take a boat and they go from the shore of Turkey and then cross the sea and arrive on the islands. And if, as soon as they arrive here, the government can take them from islands to the mainland, then they can walk across. But that's what happened before, not now. So when they arrive on these islands, the condition can be pretty harsh. So here's a picture of Lesbos. So that's the first island on the top. So here, very crowded. And from what I read some reports, maybe in some situations, 70 people have to share the same toilet. Yeah, it's a very, very bad condition. And this long journey, while we see the kind of massive scale, epic scale, but it's full of danger. And sometimes tragedy can happen. So that's the one. Yeah, so that's about the time when I thought maybe I should do something to, offer my help, and also maybe find places where I can be useful. So I started searching, and I found different groups. They look for different skills. So some groups were looking for something called spotters. So I talked to them and asked them, what is a spotter? So they told me it's people who work on the ship. The ship would sail back and forth in the sea, and see whether some boats carrying the refugees would be maybe in trouble. If they were in trouble, then the spotters would tell the captain to sail closer and pull the people from their boats to their ship. So I was a rower when I was a younger, rowboat, but it's using oars, but I don't know how to operate on a bigger ship. So I thought maybe I'll keep looking. Some other groups, they were looking for people who have a legal background, maybe some training about the legal system in European countries. So they had to talk to the refugees and asking them about their unique situation, and we file paperwork for them so they can apply for asylum, mostly in Germany and Sweden. So since I don't have the legal background in European countries, so I again kept looking. So I found some groups were looking for teachers. And the reason is this. In 2015, Germany and Sweden, they had an open door policy. So when you have a pipe where the end is open, that kept the pipe flowing. So like the water will keep going from the back end to the front end of the pipe. But over these 3 years, the sentiment in Germany has changed. So now about more than half the German population, they preferred to stop migrants at the border. And in Germany, the parties, this is like a coalition government, like maybe 3 or 4 parties were governing the country together. So some parties, they saw the sentiment change of the population, so they also were changing direction. So that gave the problem for the main governing party. So to prevent the government from collapsing, so the government decided to abandon the open door policy they adopted in 2015. So now we have a pipeline, right? So the end is closed. So the pipeline is no longer flowing. It's like a flowing water pipeline, and suddenly the temperature dropped over freezing point. So every molecule of water will stay where it was when the temperature went below like 0 Celsius. So if you are ahead in the pipeline, then you are already in Germany, you may start applying for jobs. But if you are in the back of the pipeline, you are stuck in Greece. So that's the situation for many refugees. So looks like they're going to stay there for a while. So while they were staying there, their education was interrupted. So some groups were trying to recruit teachers to meet the needs of the educational needs of the refugees. So I talked to a group called Love and Serve Without Boundaries. So they were looking for teachers. And I talked to a coordinator called Barbara. She's actually based in Illinois. She was in Illinois and Greece, kind of back and forth. So I talked with her and agreed that I'm going to volunteer there in the summer. So I arrived in Athens airport. Then I took the public transportation called metro. From the airport to a station called the Victoria Station. And I walked from the Victoria Station to my apartment and settled in for the night and started volunteering the next day. So this is the picture. I worked with the other volunteers. So even though the volunteers were kind of categorized into teachers and the general volunteers, usually the teacher would do, in the non-teaching hours, it would work together with the general volunteers to do all kinds of work. Like in this case, we are cooking meals, preparing vegetables, and cooking meals, and eventually we would transport the meals from this kitchen to Victoria Square. I'll show you. Victoria Square, and serve the meals to the refugees. And these are the people who are wearing the yellow or green. Yeah, so they are volunteers. I want to show you another picture of Victoria Square, the same place. But this picture was taken in 2016. So when the newly arrived refugees, they arrived in Athens, they have nowhere to go, so they camp in Victoria Square. And this picture shows a sanitation worker collecting garbage in the camp. It was a kind of difficult situation. But now, all the people are either in Germany now or in Greece in some semi-permanent refugee camps. So now the Victoria Square there's no tents. But still during the day you can see many refugees or migrants, they gather there during the day. So we know that's a place where many refugees come, so we serve our meals there. And we also teach many lessons. So most of the educators are teaching language lessons. We offer English lessons from lower level to advanced level. So as you can see from this picture, we teach vocabulary. This will be like different words for family members: mother, father, brother, sister, uncle, and pets. Yeah, so usually when we teach this class, that got the children very excited. So they would say, my aunt is this, my aunt is this. So it can be noisy for this class. We also teach like different body parts, like mouth, nose, ears, eyes, vocabulary. Also, I think in this one is months of the year from January to December. So most teachers were teaching English, and there was a few teaching German language, because for most of the refugees, their dream destination is Germany or Sweden. So a German teacher was there to teach German language. So when I was there, I added an addition to teach them mathematics and computer science, to give them, in addition to language skills, to give them some exposure to technology, and also maybe gaining some technical skills. So I want to maybe talk about other volunteers. When I was there, we worked with other groups. So one group came, it's called Carry the Future. So they don't have a base in Greece. So they drive a caravan to go around in entire Greece and deliver aid materials. So Tom is from Carry the Future. So he's based in the eastern part of the United States. I think he was working in the financial sector. And this is Sula. Sula also based on the East Coast. Yeah, she has a unique name, so I asked her how the name came about. She said that she's a part Sioux Indian and a part Syrian. So that's how her name, parents named her Sula. And this is also from Carry the Future, Melissa. So when they delivered material to us, they stayed with us for several days, and we did work together. So not only, so they prepared meals for us, and also served meals for us. And the other volunteers, Pam is from Ireland. She has a major in physics. So in Ireland, she teaches, in addition to physics, but also other classes like maths and English. And Karen, she's also from Ireland. Her regular work is most closely related to refugee assistance. She works, she's from Ireland, but she works and lives in London. She works for a refugee and migration research and advocacy group. And she volunteered previously in Africa, in a country called Malawi. And we have two volunteers from Barcelona. So they had a law degree. They have just got a law degree, graduated, and were ready to start their law career in Spain. Another volunteer called Graciela, also from Barcelona, Spain. Her regular job is a nurse in a mental hospital. So I thought it was very admirable. It has to be, have a good heart to, every day can be very stressful. You work in the hospital. So she's a very helpful person. And while she was in Greece, she mostly did general volunteering work, cooking and serving meals and distributing aids. Yeah, and I also taught a few lessons in English, working with other volunteers. And I found something interesting because some other volunteers were from either Europe or from England. So one thing I first noticed is we were using a textbook from donated by Cambridge Publishing. So we went around the table and have discussion based on the topics in the textbook. And one topic was somebody getting a rice. So it's in the context of about salary. So I first thought it was a misprint because here I only heard getting a raise. So I talked to volunteers who are from England or Ireland, and they said they have never heard of the usage getting a raise. So in England, they always say getting a rise. Yeah, so that's something interesting kind of contrast between British English and American English. And also some other quirk I discovered. So here we say university, right? We always use the word university. But in daily conversation, verbal conversation with English speakers, now they almost never use the whole word university. They almost 100% of the time say uni. So I went to uni last year, or I graduated from uni this year. And also interesting, this usage quickly spread to Australia, but never here. So people from Australia, one girl from Australia, she always said uni, never said university. Some quirks of like English language diverging, in different locations. Yeah, so I tried to make a computer class to be relevant to their situation. So when I taught Microsoft Word, I thought maybe what will be more urgent, their more urgent need. So probably one thing is maybe they want to look for a job. So if they can realize their dream and reach Germany, they will have a chance to have a job soon. Because in Greece, they don't have enough jobs for the Greek people. I think for Greek people, it's unemployment is like maybe 25% for the young people. So if they don't have enough jobs for the local people, it's even less likely to give a job to refugees. But if they can reach Germany, then that will be a very likely scenario. They will look for a job. So I walked through the process. So everyone would work together, and while we went through the funds and invitation, I asked each one to offer their previous experience that might be relevant to the job they are seeking. So everyone was enthusiastic and told me, I did this. So we put everything into the past experience section that got everybody interested. And also, when we went through the Excel, I imagined that maybe they can, it's an alternative. If not having a employment job, maybe they have their own store. So they can get some products and they can manage their price, can manage their sales, and tabulate and find their total revenue. So we went through the process of entering some products. So they imagine maybe we can sell clothing, shoes, maybe other stuff. And we have given the price for each item. And we imagine how many of things that you sold in a month. We can easily tabulate your total revenue in a month. And they found it's very useful. You can change one quantity, then the change will propagate to the whole thing. So they found it's very useful. And we also went through the process of designing some websites. So I taught them how to use HTML and a cascade style sheet to create a website. So using HTML to kind of enter the contents, and using cascade style sheet to make the style more consistent and more economical. You can make one change and every page will change color. So then we've talked about what web page we want to create. So we decided to create a web page for a kebab shop. So I want to make a detour about the Greek food. So when we are in San Diego, when we think about the Greek food, the first thing that came to mind is gyro, right? Gyro, yeah. So that's finely ground meat. You put it in a cone and it can rotate over fire. But when I walked in Greece, in Athens, I never saw a single gyro shop. So I don't know where that was invented. Maybe in Wisconsin, somewhere.
Chicago.
Yeah. So the only thing, the most common thing they sell in the grill shops is kebab. So it's no big cone, but just a ground meat, several meatballs. You put in a skewer and put on fire. So that's the number one most common thing you see when you walk on the Greek street. So the place we volunteered is a street called Patrician, maybe you know. Patrician. Yeah. So that's a main street from north to south. So I often walked from the place where we volunteered to Acropolis. So like a daily walk, in the evening go to Acropolis and admire the view. So when I walk on the streets, I never saw a single gyro shop. So it's only grill shops, the only thing they sell is a kebab. And maybe the second most popular is shawarma. So it's stacks of pieces of a meal, not ground. So it's still visible, the pieces. So the shape is similar to gyro, like a big cone rotating over fire. Yeah. So we went through the process to creating a menu. For a website for our imaginary kebab shop. So we decided what we are going to sell: kebab, maybe shawarma, and some drinks. And we determined the price for our menu items. And we decided our location. And location should be a beach near Athens. So we downloaded some pictures and put those pictures of a beach near Athens in our website. So I think this skill will be very useful. Either they go to Germany or stay in Greece, or even go back to their country. Those skills will be useful. And then so when I teach normal classes, many of the students were male. So then a group of female refugees, they asked me to give them a lesson. So I give them a lesson. So in addition to telling them terminologies of different components of the computer, I asked them what they wish to maybe to do. So I observed either they are mothers with small children or girls in the school age. So they thought maybe having some tools to be able to strengthen their community bonds will be important. So I walked them through a process to create, using Microsoft Word, to create a greeting card. So on occasions like maybe anniversary or birthday, they can maybe make greeting cards to send to each other. This is a picture we distribute aid. So materials included like a toothpaste, toothbrushes, and rice, and also baby carrier. So that we also, I think I mentioned earlier, volunteer called Karen. Her mother had a daycare center when she was young, so she worked with the children quite often when she was younger. So she was an expert in demonstrating how to use the baby carrier, how to tie some buckles on the neck and carry the children properly. And she also has the magic of making children go to sleep quickly. So when the mothers were taking classes from us, Karen would try to put the children, babies, to sleep. And she has the magic so that the children would go into sleep very, very deeply. So no matter how noisy or how loud the room can become, the babies will not wake up. And two of my students invited me to visit their refugee camp, but I couldn't go in because for security reasons. The Greek government wanted to make sure that nobody would go in there maybe to attack refugees because of some political reasons. So I was able to go to the gate and take a few photos. So this is, want to back to the map. Yeah, this is in a place called Piraeus. Is the pronunciation correct? Piraeus. We went from Athens to Piraeus. That is a port, I think the biggest port in Greece. So there are tons of used containers, almost like a mountain. So stacked on top of each other, big shipping containers. So they used to use the containers to ship, clothing, shoes, from country to country. But then after certain years, maybe the containers were retired. So they put the used containers near the mountain top, near the mountainside. So from what I read, they used the containers to convert them for housing the refugees. So it cannot be sure, but it looks like it's possible. So this might be a container before, and they converted it into a trailer for the refugees. So from what I saw, I got a very good impression. It's quiet, not crowded at all compared to the image we saw earlier in Lesbos. So that's much better. And more importantly, no bad smell. So the sewers, everything is connected to the city service. And I say this because before I was in another country, I passed by a refugee camp. That's unofficial. So it's not a government sponsored refugee camp. The refugees just came from Syria. They went to this farm. So they said, we are going to stay there for some years. So there's no sewer connection. So as soon as you get close to that camp, you can sense the odor from the sewage. But for this situation, everything is very clean. No bad smell at all. So much better than the self-organized camps, and much better than Lesbos. And after work, I went to a city. This is not related to refugees anymore. So, a cultural site in Greece called Meteora. And George knows this much more than I do. So this is a very interesting place. So you can see there are kind of a special rock formation, almost like a pillar, rising vertically from the ground. And then these are monasteries on the top of the rock pillar. So nowadays there might be some cable you can send the food or other material to the monasteries, but before there was no cable. So how did you get people and food to the top of the pillar? So here is the answer. So the monks would push this device and this rope, the lift, a basket, up from the, from here to here, using a basket. So they admit a new monk. The monk would maybe sit in the basket. They would push this pulley, and the basket would rise, eventually rise to the top. And they can join the monastery. And here's an interesting rock formation. And what animals do you think it looks like? Elephant, yeah. So I think when the picture is smaller, it looks more like elephant. That's the eye, that's the trunk, yeah. My volunteer work is kind of far and it can be expensive. But I encourage everyone to start something local. And so I talked to a professor in the biology department called Daniela Brookman, and she gave me some leads about some volunteer opportunities you can start if you want to start now. So one is a Mission Trails Regional Park. The other one is a Tijuana River Research Reserve. Next one, San Diego Audubon Society. And I love Clean San Diego. So these are some of the opportunities. So if you have questions, you can send email to me or to Professor Brookman. Thank you.